Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Finance Bible podcast. Just a quick reminder
that nothing in this podcast should ever be taken as personal financial advice.
And if you are seeking financial advice,
just reach out to us, as we know many people in the industry.
Today you're joined with myself, Zeke, fellow co-founder of the Finance Bible, Oscar, and Gus from Sheffield Financial. Gus, how are you?
Very well, thank you guys.
Good to have you on the podcast and to learn a bit more about your business and help everyone else out there to personal finance.
Yeah, perfect. Look forward to it, guys.
Gus, for the people and the listeners who don't know much about you, some of you might recognise Gus. He's in the industry, pretty well known. Some of our listeners have actually engaged with Gus himself. So tell us a bit about yourself, how you got where you are, and a bit about what you do.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Zeke. Yeah, so again, Gus, I've been doing financial planning for approximately 5 years now. I guess best way to start any story is at the start. So I grew up on a rural property and just loved finance at a young age. I used to read all the books. After uni, I was chasing the big bucks, the money. So I went to the mines because at that stage, something you guys wouldn't know about me.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So, at that stage, they were just throwing money at people to come and work for them. And I thought, this is great. This is a great way to set myself up for life. So I went out there and I realised, all these mine workers were, all in debt, all in a bad financial way. They look like they'll be working basically for the rest of their life in mines.
On paper, making good money, thinking they're nice and rich, the common stereotype.
Because the hourly rate there is pretty well paid.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You don't need any education or experience, and you can basically get on a good salary. So here I was on an amazing salary with all these other people, and I realised that's not the way to become financial free, basically. So I guess that's where my journey started. After that, I went to London and got into finance. Then after that, back in Australia, Sydney, and I did a bit of time for Westpac, but I felt the way I could add the most to my clients is not being tied to a big provider. But
where on your own.
Exactly, where I can work directly for the client instead for a big bank.
How long were you in London for and what for? Was it entry-level job or?
Correct. So we're classified as estate planners. So you guys probably know this or you don't. A big thing in UK is they've got the 40% inheritance tax, which is massive. So there's a lot of people who need planning around that, on how to mitigate that, etc.
Cool.
Before you went down the path of reading your books and all of that kind of stuff, which we'll get to in a moment, in school, individually, did you learn much about finance? What do you think of the school system regarding finance?
I think you guys know what I'm going to say. Unfortunately, in Australia, it's horrible. I learned nothing about finances at school. All my knowledge I gained from outside of the classroom through educational programs, books, and through courses.
Yeah. And were your parents, were they financial lovers as well, like yourself? Did they help you grow the love, or did you just get that on your own?
Yes and no. My parents were looking in the right direction, but they weren't quite there. It was those little things they didn't understand, like risk, personal insurances, all those things around the edges that no one really thinks about. So they were in the right direction, but not quite there.
Yeah, cool. And just going back on the books, because we did a post quite a while ago.
Yeah, we've done a post and a podcast
on our favourite financial books. Was there one in particular that you loved?
Great question. I guess it depends what area you're looking at, because I find the books are generally quite narrow in scope. If it's focusing on investing or etc. I do like the new Tony Robbins book about investing that came out, and sorry that the name's just gone over me at the moment.
Sorry, we'll find it out.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I'm a big fan of Richest Man in Babylon as well. Yeah.
All-time classic. You find the book now?
Money Master the Game, Life Force, Unshakable.
Unshakable.
Yeah. With books, I think you're right. They're very narrow. They tend to focus on one particular thing at a time.
Yeah.
What Oscar and I found anyway is, Barefoot Investor good book for people trying to start budgeting, trying to figure out where to put their money as it comes in from their employer. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, good to develop habits and stuff like that. Think about finance.
Definitely.
With Unshakable, what does that kind of focus on?
It's similar to those guys, but it adds a lot more, I feel, meat to the bone, so to say. It teaches people about markets and volatility. And the big thing is the emotional fear that people feel when they see their money goes down is so detrimental to them, as in not only are they feeling that emotional pain, they're also making bad financial decisions from those emotional responses.
Yeah, right.
Whereas Unshakable, Tony Robbins, amazing when it comes to understanding how people think and how people's thinking shape their behaviour. And he pretty much breaks that down so narrowly. And I find it, once you understand what feelings you go through when it comes to investing, and once he points it out to you, it's so obvious after that.
Yeah, because a lot of investments are emotional. So literally everyone just buys into something, loses all their money. Oh.
Yeah, 100%. And again, you need a strategy. You need a logical strategy. Then at no point should you ever make a decision on emotions.
Yeah.
Especially in the current market. We're experiencing COVID, we're experiencing the war with Russia and Ukraine, inflation, etc. Emotion right now would be driving a lot of investors out of the market. Yeah. So it's an important book to read.
Yeah, definitely. And we saw that, after the invasion of Ukraine, obviously got a phone call from a few clients.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone would be kind of freaking out.
And again, we're not trading in and out of the market. Based off my historical research, you're better off just staying in the long game.
Yeah.
And that's keep dollar cost averaging in.
100%. Buy when it's low, buy when it's high, buy when it's doing nothing.
Yeah. So with Sheffield Financial, how did you go out on your own? Because that's kind of the hardest thing people want to do. Like going out on your own is one thing, but actually making a company is different and actually doing it. So how did you do it? What were the difficulties around that? What were the fun things, bad things?
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, it's quite a funny story, actually. And look, open, honest, transparent. I was working for BT, Westpac, who are a great company, but a bit of an issue I was having in the business at that time is just their processes and how they did favour BT products a lot more. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, there's some of the BT products are amazing, some not so amazing. But again, I just wanted to break out of that big corporate environment. Instead of working for a big provider, I wanted to work for the clients, always for the clients and have their best interest. So it'd been on my mind, and there I was, I got invited to a Bucks party.
I like the story. I like it. Keep going.
Where the best things happen. And I saw a schoolmate, because I've just come back from London, and I saw a schoolmate I haven't seen in a year, and we were just talking, and he basically said, look, I'm thinking about starting a financial planning firm. And I said, me too. let's join forces. So then we caught up, and then next thing progressed to next thing, and then here
we are.
Yeah, and building off what you just said, Oscar, the difficulties. It was a bit harder at the start. We scoped our advice mainly around the risks, so personal insurances, etc. at that time. However, as a business, as we've grown, we've become more holistic. So we do a lot more now than pretty much, majority things we can do at the moment.
Just for our listeners out there that don't know what scoped and holistic advice is, do you want to provide a quick background on the two of them?
Yeah, certainly. So if you see a sort of scaled advisor, which is where they would scope a certain financial area. So for example, in my case, when we started 5 years ago, we just did personal insurance. So that's the only thing we would advise on. So we wouldn't advise on all the other financial areas. So we would scope our advice just to personal insurances. And again, that's such a huge topic in itself. So even though we were financial planners, that's just where we focus.
Yeah, like a specialty kind of realm.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas a holistic sort of approach would take all the different financial areas on board.
Yeah, and with your client base coming through, like referrals, clients wanting help from Sheffield, what's kind of their main issue? Is it savings? Is it investing? What do they want out of it? Like, what's the main demographic?
Yeah, great question. I think it's all. It's not. So the providers are listening now. They've sort of had in the back of their mind a sort of inkling, I should do something, should tidy up my finances, but a lot don't know where to start. And again, a lot of people reached out to me and go, hey, I want to do something. And then we sort of drill into it. We get a lot more specific. So the first meeting is actually all about understanding the client and what they want to achieve. So we're talking about their short to long-term goals. So short can be, I want to buy a car. Medium-term goals, I want to send the kids to university. I want to buy a home. I want to buy an investment property. Long-term, I want to retire early. I want to have a good retirement, etc. So really nailing down on those areas to find out what somebody wants. From there, then you can build a plan and solutions around that.
One of our biggest issues we're coming across for clients is, they're looking to retire at 60, the age you can access superannuation, and they're having to fund the next 30 years of their life with a life expectancy of about 89, 90.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest issues we're finding, because super's not paying that much for people in that age group where they're just outside of the pension threshold and they're not going to earn a large income. What's probably the biggest issue that you're facing? Is it similar or is it a bit different?
Yeah, they're hard conversations you're having with people when you've sort of run the numbers or you've seen the numbers and you go, retirement is not possible in the next few years based on what you want. So it's again about, instead of diving in, coming up with solutions, taking a step back and just going, okay, what would an ideal retirement be? What do we need and what do we need to tick off? And once we've sort of established that, it is generally quite doable for most clients to go, hey, this is how we can have a comfortable retirement. Let's really attack the super. We'll get enough in the super so we can get tax-free income. Unfortunately, we can't be self-funded because there's not enough, so we can use the government pension to top that up a bit. And sometimes they're willing to compromise if it's go back to work maybe a day or so a week, etc., or work for an extra few years. Yeah. So again, just finding out what they want and the best way to get there.
So there's always a way to reach their goals. Like sometimes we may have to push retirement back a little bit and sacrifice some other things. But a lot of our listeners are in their mid-20s to 30s. Yeah. What do you think individuals in 20 to 30 age group can do to avoid a situation like that for their future?
Do something now, straight away.
Time's your best friend, right?
100%. Yeah. The things, people underestimate what they can do in the long term, but overestimate what they can do in the short term.
Completely agree.
Yep. And the thing is, the government aren't idiots either. They know people are generally pretty bad at saving money. That's why they've created superannuation. So superannuation can be your best friend. So again, make sure if you're young, make sure it's set up correctly, cheap fees, you're getting the performance you need, etc., and it's going in the right direction. And if you treat that with love, you'll have a very happy, comfortable retirement.
Yeah.
If you're talking about retiring earlier than the super age, say for example 60, then it's start growing your assets now.
And the good thing about super, it is going up to 12% to kind of force that savings. Because, like we all said, a lot of the clients we meet with have little to no super.
Yeah.
And it's a tough conversation.
A big problem we're coming across actually for self-employed clients who are on paper what we'd call rich or doing well, earning 130 grand a year plus, living it up, balling, some would say, not paying themselves any superannuation. Yeah. So that's a problem that we've tried to basically advise people of, and I'm glad you said super is your best friend. Yeah. We actually did a podcast called Super is Your Best Friend.
And if you are a self-employed individual not paying yourself super at the moment, do rethink that, because if you are wanting to go down the path of a property in your super, you need a contribution history. Lenders aren't going to lend you money if there's none. So definitely that is something to look at as soon as possible.
And just building off that, it's growing in there. Every year with the compound interest, it's growing more and more. So little seeds now are going to be massive trees in the future.
Yeah,
It's a good quote.
again, same thing. We like using fitness analogies here.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going for a run every day and you can increase your stamina, you do 1,000 steps. That's a crappy run.
1,000 steps is
you do
like-
8,000 steps on a nice jog. Tomorrow you do 8,200. The day after 8,300. So on. Over 30 years, if you're a 30-year-old, you're doing over 600, 700,000 steps, burning thousands and thousands of calories, losing tons of kilograms. Superannuation building up over 30 years. Same.
Directly correlates.
I love the health, relating to health, because you're right. If you treat your body with respect, you're going to be healthy, live a good life. Things are going to be great. But again, if just like your finances, if you treat it crap, you're going to struggle.
You're screwed.
In life.
Same with a partner. Treat them crap, they're probably going to run away.
Running off.
Yeah.
Out the back door.
Gus, changing topics a little bit here. But what do you find in terms of investing you're mainly focusing on at the moment? Is it property? Is it shares? Is it fixed interest? Or a large mixture of all of the above?
Yeah, great question, Zeke. I would be everything.
Yeah.
I think asset allocation is the way to consistent, sustainable, long-term performance. And what I mean by that, for the listeners out there, I mean having a bit of property, having a potentially investment property, or you can invest indirectly in property through the stock market, having some stocks and shares, if that's managed funds, having money in your cash account, in savings, even having a bit of exposure to fixed interest and bonds. And, if you really want to get creative, you can do other sort of things as well, like commodities, cryptocurrencies, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Diversification is key.
Yeah.
Zeke's talked about a interesting investment strategy of artwork. What are your thoughts on
Artwork?
investing in art?
I've been looking into it a little bit lately.
Yeah.
Before we get on to your view, there's a company that specialises in artwork.
Yeah.
So what they do, they've got artists that paint the artwork. They hold the artwork.
Yeah.
You buy it,
Yeah.
and they rent it out to people. They're like a property manager, but an artwork manager.
I
So
love this concept.
They allow
Galleries,
businesses,
etc.
galleries, etc.
Yeah.
If you've got an important client meeting, like I'm talking multi-millionaires, like
Painting up in the corner.
proper client meetings, they rent the artwork, their office looks spectacular. They're paying $800, $900 a day to have that artwork in the office. What are your thoughts on artwork as an investment?
I love the concept to what you explained. Again, I'm a very vanilla person when it comes to investing. Look, if I really, really like the concept, which I do, and I had some spare money around, I'd be like, yeah, sure, a little bit. Any money I can afford to lose, basically. But yeah, interesting concept.
It's very,
I think
very out
it's-
of the box.
I haven't done it. Disclaimer to the listeners: I haven't done it myself. But it's interesting. You can look at people invest in cars, people invest in property, they invest
Alcohol,
in shares, crypto.
jewelry.
Even the brick
Alcohol,
that,
yeah. I actually hold some alcohol myself in terms
really?
of not to smash and drink, not for a big night.
I think we all do.
But yeah, I've got a couple of bottles of 1981 Bundaberg rum.
I'm going to crack into that
It's
tonight.
worth a few grand.
Get into that tonight, surely.
Everyone will be fighting each other.
There's all these different investment paths, and then you've got crypto NFTs entering the market. It's a tricky field.
Yeah, and personally as well, I'd like to see a bit of a track record, and that's why I guess with a lot of new products coming on the market, if they haven't been around for a while, I'm a bit more conservative. I prefer to sit back and just see how they operate. Again, I don't need to double my money overnight. I'm just
You're in it for a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just a very vanilla investing guy, just collecting my sort of 7%, 8% on average per year over the next 20 years.
You just continue to reinvest with the dividends.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm laughing.
Yeah. Cool. What's this?
Just a quick bit of art statistic, mate. Just
Whipped it up on the Google.
had a Google.
Yeah.
So, based on UBS and a report by Art Basel, it's returning about 7.6% net growth per year, art as a whole.
Really?
And that's not including what like your dividend or your rent or whatever they call it. So Interesting field. I'm keen to do a bit more research on it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's funny. If we're going down this path, I'll put my two bobs in.
Here we go.
There you go.
Yeah,
Exciting.
because money laundering is quite a big issue. So
We've gone straight to
How did this happen?
A lot of the unsavoury people with money who want to invest, their money's watched if it goes to property, the share market, etc. Areas that aren't so watched is art.
Yes.
Yeah. So
What are you trying to say, mate?
This is not tax advice.
yeah. This is not advice.
While we're on that note, we may as well go down the path of laundromats. But actually, on that topic, interesting thing. I've been looking into, if you use a wallet like CoinSpot, throw money in, diversify that, move it from there to like a trust wallet, buy an NFT, sell it to a different wallet, pull the money out of that wallet. How is the government going to track the capital gains, capital losses, the trading fees, etc.?
You're saying if you pull it out to a different wallet.
So
you're going with
put it in.
CoinSpot, you come out with Binance.
There's all these different, like you move it 3 or 4 times in between. It's got to be impossible to track. It has to be.
Yeah, I think, and a lot of people won't like hearing this, at some point it has to be regulated to a certain extent.
Yeah.
They've got to report back.
Yeah, I know. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm sure, let's say CoinSpot has some sort of maybe reporting. I don't know.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I don't
You can
know.
link it up with the spreadsheet.
Yeah, but then do all these other wallets that you're transferring to have...
I don't think the wallets do.
Yeah,
like
that's right.
For example, with Solana, for anyone out there who trades Solana NFTs, with the Phantom wallet, I don't think
The
there
Phantom,
is.
it's got to be a ghost. There's no way that's recording what it's doing.
But I do think there is ways. But we're not giving advice.
Yeah, I'm not by any means saying go and launder money. It's a bad thing to do.
It's interesting. I sat down with a new client about a month ago, and on paper they didn't look that financially strong, but they were like retiring, and they were around our age. And I was like, "How are you doing this?" And then he explained basically that he's
All crypto.
yeah, just crypto and renting it out. It was above my head.
How much crypto do you make?
He was up, I think, 2 mil, 1 or 2 mil. Yeah.
It's so easy to make money. Like if you know what you're doing.
But again, I'm always go back to diversification, etc. I was quite concerned that is had a lot of money in there.
Red flags.
Yeah, overvalued.
Gus, we're big believers in rent investing. So we're both renting at the moment. We're both investing. Long term, I don't know if I'm ever going to bother buying my own house, to be honest. Happy to own multiple investments, jump from one to the other, rent, blah, blah, blah. What are your thoughts on it in terms of a building wealth strategy? Do you do it from 20 to 50? When you're looking at retiring, do you get your own house? And what are you doing personally?
Because you recently bought a house, didn't you? Last 6 months?
Yeah, so again, we'll keep the conversation very general. Like, there's different solutions for different people.
Yeah, and families, etc.
But I'm in the same boat as you gentlemen. 100% rent vesting was the way to go.
When practical.
Exactly. Yeah. I was sitting down telling my partner about it. She was not
a big fan.
Yeah, wasn't as excited about it as me. We ended up buying our own apartment.
What a good bloke you are.
Yeah.
Get you a man like Gus.
Yeah, I bit the bullet then.
So do you have your investments? The way you structure it, are they kind of paying off your mortgage for you, or?
I also have a property in Queensland, which is not paying off the mortgage at the moment, but it's, I'm happy to cop that at this stage because I do have a surplus income, and also the capital growth I'm getting on it.
The last year or two, exceptional.
Yeah, I know.
Whereabouts in Queensland is it?
It's on the Sunshine Coast.
Yep, nice.
Coolum Beach.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Very well aware of that area.
Yeah. I was actually, this is just when I got back from London.
Clive Palmer's stopping.
Yeah. Just go around in, I say hello to the big guy occasionally. No, I don't. Just for the listeners.
Clive.
We steer very well with politics on here.
Yeah. But look, again, it's one of those things. Like I was quite fresh to investing. I got into it with my parents, and property. If you buy the right property, you can sit back and laugh over the next 30 years.
With your property, is it long-term tenanted rental, or is it Airbnb? What's going on there?
It's actually quite a unique setup.
Perfect.
So my parents live in there, and they pay me rent, so to say, and I pay the mortgage. So it's
Lucky them living off Coolum Beach.
And it works well for them because they're retired and they couldn't go to the bank without salary. I had the salary, they had the deposit, so it worked great for both of us. I got into the property market. They're happy to help out one of their kids.
Surely you bumped the rent up with it.
Yeah. I've been thinking about that. It's going to be an awkward conversation.
Hey, Mum,
mate.
you got to fork out a bit more.
Yeah.
What happens when you will?
Yeah.
How would they take it?
Well, I don't know.
You might have to evict them.
Yeah. Sorry, Mum. Times are tough.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That'd be an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah. I haven't thought how that one will go down yet, but yeah, we'll see.
Good luck.
Yeah. Cheers.
Mate, before you go, if you could go back in time and tell yourself something, a bit of advice for yourself, future you, what would it be?
Ooh, I love a deep question to end with.
We're talking finance related.
Okay. Calm down, Gus.
Finance related. Look, I don't think... Yes, I do actually. I do. Unfortunately, when I was at uni, and my late grandfather left me a small inheritance, and at that stage, listened to the wrong people in regards what to do with that money. And I'm absolutely in bits because if I spoke to, say, a financial planner, or just had the right education that I had now, I could be a lot further in front.
To where I am now.
And for the listeners, I ended up losing all that money, unfortunately. But again, even though that's very frustrating, it was a really good learning point for me to know.
From that.
And you know what? I'd pay somebody to learn what to do with your money. Much better than just listening to somebody who did something and said there was good returns and showed you some marketing brochures and
That's perfect. I love that.
I think everyone, correct me if I'm wrong, but everyone has been through something like that. Whether it was getting credit cards at an early age or...
Well, I did that because I was on Family Feud back in the day. I was on 4 episodes on Family Feud back in 2016. I won a bit of money.
They kept putting
because
you on.
we won 4 nights in a row, just missed out on the car. But won a bit of money in same situation. No one really guided me to what to do with that money, and I literally spent it all on drinks, like going out with mates. Pretty bad. Like looking back now, I could have definitely been in a different
when
position.
I was in my younger teenage years, 15, 16, 17, 18, I was earning a lot of money for a 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old. And that, there was multiple, like, tens of thousands of dollars out the window. If I knew what I knew now when I was 15, I don't even think I'd be, like, stressed at all. Now I'd just be chilling.
Definitely. And that's exactly the same with me. If I did the right things at a young age, but, I'm happy. I made mistakes. There's still plenty of time to recover.
Yeah, we're still young.
Time's on our side.
Yeah.
Well, mate, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
and for anyone who wants to get in touch with Gus and just have a chat to him, we'll put his website link in the description so you can just jump on, book yourself in for a complimentary meeting or give him a call. And,
or even flick us a DM on our Instagram at the Finance Bible.
And
we'll set up
guide you straight there.
Shenanigan.
Cheers, boys. I love your work. I listen to your podcast, and it's good. You're getting a good message out there to the masses, so good effort.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Gus. We'll catch you all next week, but until then,
keep investing,
keep budgeting, and keep listening.